for question 2, we asked, what value does the Old Testament have for the modern Christian? And this is a question that, many people have different answers to, but this is what I have written down for what he said. He quotes, "For someone who reads the Word of God regularly, there is no doubt as to its inspiration. Do you want to build your faith in God? Study the 3 promises made to Abraham. See how they have formed and guide the next 2,000 years of world history. Look at how their fulfillment changed the 2,000 years after the seed promise began to bless all the nations of the earth. The fulfified prophecy of the Old Testament is another faith builder. Daniel's interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream laid against an intro to Western civilization textbook will fill you with spirit. We are about to study the book of Romans. Good luck understanding Romans without a knowledge of the works of the law of Genesis, or Genesis 15. And I found this answer again very, he really tells us how he feels about things, and you can see through these answers his just true understanding of the Old Testament and the Bible. And he makes very good points relating to how things affected the modern Western civilization that we know today. Question 3 was, what ways have you found to help people connect to the Old Testament? And I've, talking to a preacher, this is a very good question, and one he really liked to answer. This is probably his favorite question to answer of this interview. And this is what I journaled as his answer. As any preacher will tell you, the easiest sermons to write come from Old Testament characters. Adam, Noah, Abraham, Joseph, Job, David, Solomon, Isaiah, chapter 6 and 53. Need I go on? The stories and application flow out of the Old Testament like Moses equating himself with God and whacking on a rock. And he kept this one very short and simple, but like I said, again, this was his favorite question that he answered of this interview. And for the 4th and final question, we asked our expert, what is the greatest challenge you face in using the Old Testament in context of your ministry? And this was another interesting question, because modern Christians, we tend to focus on more of the New Testament, and some people completely just do away with the Old Testament. So I found it very interesting to hear what he had to say about this one. And for number 4, I journaled his answer, and I quote, "This will sound counterintuitive, but their lack of background in the text. If I have a Bible class with an understanding of Exodus 20, 25, 40, Leviticus 16, Numbers 13, 14, and 18 for starters, and we study Hebrews, I have no problems. If they are completely ignorant of the stories, timelines, and the text, it can be difficult to overcome their prejudice. Some of the Bible class material can be too much for beginning Bible students. Introduce the themes, the nation and land and promise, the importance of sacrifice, the early period of earthly kings, into the divided kingdom and then captivity. That way they have something to which they can relate to the rest of the text. Small bites and showing the relevance the New Testament seem to work best." And he basically sums it up as that, without full understanding of the Old Testament, you won't really get a grasp on the New Testament. However, it could also be very hard to understand the Old Testament if you're not experienced on stories that have to do with these things. And that was the final question of this interview. And like I said at the beginning, I really enjoyed doing this video and this project and this interview. I really love to hear what my childhood preacher had to say about these questions, and it was really neat getting to get him to help me with the school project and everything, and really get to see how someone educated with the Bible, his views on things. So I really enjoy doing this.